You know, when you picture American farmers, you often think of resilience, right? Battling the elements, working the land.
Absolutely. It's a tough job.
Well, right now, some of them are facing a different kind of storm, a financial one.
Wow.
And the really interesting thing is this isn't about, the usual market swings or bad weather. It actually stems from a policy change. We saw this highlighted in a Ring of Fire video recently.
Right, that piece. It's quite something seeing how these big policy decisions, especially around environment and farming, can just sideswipe people when politics shift.
Exactly. So that's the core of our deep dive today. We're looking at American farmers who, well, they joined this Biden administration program, the Climate Smart program,
Okay.
and now they're actually suing the Trump administration because the funding got frozen. And the stakes are, well, bankruptcy potentially.
Wow. Okay. So just to be clear for everyone listening, we're basing this on the information and sort of the perspectives lent out in that YouTube video transcript, right?
That's right. We're basically sifting through what that video presented to get to the heart of this whole dispute.
Got it.
Okay, so let's start with the program itself, this Climate Smart program. The video explains it was launched under the Biden administration, and the basic idea, according to the video, was to give financial help to farmers.
Right. Helping them adapt
Yeah.
because they're often on the front lines of climate impacts.
Exactly. Helping them adapt, become more resilient. The goal was fostering practices that are, good for the environment, but also make economic sense for the farmers.
Things like drought resistance, soil health, stuff that helps everyone in the long run, really.
Precisely. And the video gets specific. It mentions grants for things like expanding grazing lands.
Which could help during dry spells, presumably. Less vulnerability for livestock.
Right. And also support for improving soil health, which is huge for productivity, especially with heavy rains and erosion concerns, the video points out.
Yeah, healthier soil holds water better, needs less irrigation maybe. Good grazing means better fertility. It connects.
And another big one the video highlights, financial help for installing solar panels on farms.
Oh, interesting. So cutting energy costs and maybe even creating income.
Potentially, yeah. And the crucial part, the video stresses, is this was funded through the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Real money was committed.
That federal backing. That's often what makes these big long-term investments possible for farmers, right? Overcoming that initial cost barrier.
Definitely. So now, here's where the story really turns. The video makes it very clear. Farmers across the country didn't just ignore this.
They jumped in.
They engaged, applied, and, this is key, the video says they received guarantees, assurances from the government. If you do X, Y, and Z, you'll get this amount of funding.
And that word guarantee, it's everything, isn't it? That's not just an apply and hopes situation. That's a commitment. Any business owner would act on that.
Absolutely. And they did. According to the video, they relied on those guarantees and started making, well, pretty massive investments.
Like what kind of investments?
Well, the video mentions buying new equipment, modern farm equipment that can easily run like $500,000 or more.
Wow. Okay, that's serious capital. Probably involves taking out significant loans, I'd imagine. Long-term debt.
For sure. And it wasn't just equipment. The video says some farmers bought or leased new land to implement these climate smart practices.
More outgoing costs. Monthly payments on that land.
Right. And those who went for solar, they got into long-term contracts with solar companies. Again, monthly payments. All of this based on the understanding that the government money was coming to help cover it.
So you've got farmers laying out serious cash, signing leases, taking loans, all based on the government's promise.
Yeah.
A lot of trust placed there based on what the video describes.
Then, the video details that when the Trump administration took office, those grants were canceled. Just stopped. Funding gone. Poof.
Oof. That kind of sudden reversal, especially when people have already acted based on the previous promise. That's got to be devastating. Throws everything into chaos.
And the fallout, as the video lays it out, was immediate and severe. These farmers had already spent the money, right? Millions, in some cases, the video suggests, through loans for expansion, soil work, solar.
And suddenly the income source they'd factored in to repay those loans just vanishes.
Exactly. The video makes it clear their whole financial plan was tied to that government support. Without it, the loans are suddenly unaffordable, the leases are a huge weight, those solar contracts become liabilities.
It paints a pretty grim picture then.
It really does. The video states they're facing, actual foreclosure threats, losing land, equipment, worst case, bankruptcy.
Losing everything.
Yeah, there's this quote or something like it in the video capturing that feeling. Farmers saying basically, we spent the money because you promised to pay us back, and now we're ruined. We're about to lose it all. You can feel the desperation.
That really drives home the human side of these policy shifts. It's not just numbers on a spreadsheet. It's families, livelihoods, generations on the farm.
And the video points out it's not just the farmers either. There are ripple effects.
In communities?
Yeah, rural communities. Some farmers reportedly had to lay off workers. Job losses in places where agriculture is often the main economic engine. That hurts.
It highlights how interconnected it all is. Farm distress spreads quickly in those areas, creates a wider vulnerability.
So, okay, in response to this funding freeze, this whole crisis, the video explains a group of environmental organizations has stepped up.
To represent the farmers.
Yes.
Yeah.
They filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration.
Trying to hold the government accountable, essentially. Get compensation for the harm caused by pulling the funding.
That seems to be the goal, yeah. The video says the main aim is to get the funds released, the money that was originally promised under the Climate Smart program.
Trying to stop the bleeding, prevent those bankruptcies.
Right. But the video also adds a dose of reality here. Legal battles take time. A long time, often.
And the farmers are under intense pressure now. Banks aren't likely to just wait around while the courts sort it out, are they?
That's the critical point the video underscores, the urgency. Many farmers, it says, simply can't afford to wait months or years. The loan payments are due. Foreclosure risk is immediate.
So even if they eventually win the lawsuit, the delay itself could be fatal for many of these farms. They could go under before the money ever arrives. What a dilemma.
It really is. So let's dig into some of the arguments the video itself presents. One point it really emphasizes is that this Climate Smart program, it wasn't hurting anyone.
Oh.
In fact, the video suggests it was benefiting farmers, the people growing food for the country.
So the perspective in the video is that it was kind of a win-win. Good for the environment, good for agriculture, no real downside.
That's the framing in the video, yes. It also offers a possible reason why the funding got cut. The video narrator suggests the Trump administration might have reacted negatively just to the word climate in the program's name. Viewed it through a political lens.
So a suggestion from the video that maybe the program's actual merits got lost in the politics around climate change itself.
Yeah.
That's quite a charge.
It is. Another major argument in the video is about legal obligation.
The government's duty to honor its commitments.
Exactly. The argument is, regardless of who's in the White House, these were agreements, commitments, and the government has to uphold its end of the deal.
That principle of honoring contracts, that's pretty fundamental for economic stability, right? If the government doesn't stick to its word, it creates huge uncertainty, erodes trust.
You'd think so. The video even brings up some historical context. It suggests the Trump administration has a track record, allegedly, of not always honoring debts or agreements.
So the video raises that as another layer of concern, whether the funds would actually be paid, even if the farmers win legally.
That seems to be the implication raised in the source material, yeah. It adds to the uncertainty for these farmers.
Which is important to note, these references to past actions, the potential reasons for the cuts, these are the specific viewpoints presented in that video, correct?
Absolutely crucial to remember. We're relaying the arguments and perspectives as laid out in that YouTube transcript. It gives us a window into how the situation is being framed by or on behalf of the farmers.
Understanding those specific perspectives is key to grasping the whole picture. It's definitely not a simple one-sided issue.
Right. So just to wrap this part up, we have this situation. Farmers invest heavily in climate-friendly practices based on what the video calls explicit government promises.
Promises of funding.
Then a new administration freezes that funding. And now those same farmers are facing, potential ruin, foreclosure, bankruptcy, and they're fighting back in court.
And the stakes are incredibly high. Not just the financial risk for individual farmers, but wider impacts on rural communities too. It really highlights the seriousness of it all.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yes.
I mean, we all rely on farming, on agriculture being stable, and farmers make these huge financial bets. So what does it mean when government programs, government funding can just get disrupted like this? What does the specific case tell us about that sort of tricky intersection of environmental goals, farming economics, and, shifting political winds?
That's the big question, isn't it? The balance between those things and who bears the risk when policies change. Definitely something to chew on.